It should be relatively good, like 90% good.
Yeah, 90% good.
That's
She
great.
she needs a friend. Right now she's fine. She's taking a nap, but
Aw.
by the end of this episode, she'll realize I'm in the office.
Yes, exactly. So you'll like even if they like wrestle and stuff, you're just like at least they're like
Hmm.
their attention is elsewhere and they're not like bored or depressed.
Yeah. And it's a boy kitten being introduced to a girl, and I think
Yeah.
there's more problems if you're trying to introduce a boy and a boy. This
Yeah.
alpha male shit.
Yeah. Yes. Because even like my shadow, unfortunately, he like I think he like tries to be the alpha male and like scares Pepper sometimes, but like Pepper will get him and like, but then he'll wrestle with Julius and then they wrestle, but sometimes he goes too hard because he's so big.
Hmm.
So there's always going to be little things with
Hmm.
multi-cat households, but you just have to kind of accept that and just know that it's better most of the time.
Yeah.
Almost all the time until like you hear like the hiss and you're like, uh-oh, you know.
Yeah. And despite what many people say, Trixie is a very sweet cat. She just is an anxious girl.
I
And
know.
like the most mind-boggling thing happened
Yeah.
right before we left, though. The Friday before we left, our maintenance guy had to come and check our air conditioning unit
Yeah.
or water heater, whatever that big thing in my closet is called.
Yeah, yeah. Water
And
heater, I think.
he just walks in
Yeah.
and walks out and comes back in with a shop vac, and Trixie's laying underneath the dining room table and doesn't give a shit. But if any of our
Oh,
friends come in, she has to sit in the corner and occasionally growl at them while
occasionally.
she's and it's probably from, being abandoned as a kitten so young.
Yeah.
She doesn't understand body language, it seems.
Hmm.
So she'll be like laying on her back, showing belly and
Yeah.
growling at the same
Oh
time.
my goodness. That's so funny and cute.
It's like,
Aw.
Trixie, you're giving mixed messages here.
I know. It's
Do
like,
you feel safe or do you feel threatened?
yeah.
Anyway,
Adorable.
hello and welcome back to the mini show. I'm your host, Samantha, joined by the Stormy Skies.
Hello, listeners.
We're back after a short vacation.
Yeah.
With our new mini show, which is where we just shoot the shit for 15 to 30 minutes,
Yeah.
talk about a show we're watching together, some
Yeah.
some horror news. And today is very exciting because I went
Ooh.
through our Real Horror Show email and saw that we had two questions from a listener.
Whoa, what
I
questions? That's cool.
I
Oh
know.
my God, I'm so excited to answer.
I know. This is new for us, so I'm sorry that it's taken us a while to get to your questions. We don't usually our email is so bogged down with junk
Chunk,
from
yeah.
like, our podcast subscription service and analytic websites that we use to
Yeah.
know how many of you are listening, and we don't really hear from a lot of you, and it's really nice when we do.
Right.
TikTok is cool in that I feel like it's opening us up to new listeners.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
Even when I've been lazy for the past month and haven't made new video promos.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I've had my vacation. I feel recharged. I can get back on it. Maybe now that I'm home, I can get diagnosed for ADHD and get on some legalized speed.
Get on some yeah, whatever. What do they put you on for that?
Uh,
Adderall?
Usually Adderall.
Yeah.
Vyvanse, I think, is another one.
Ooh, okay, that's
Um,
new.
Anyway, so our new series that we're watching now that we've finished Fall of the House of Usher is the first in the Mike Flanagan series that he made for Netflix. The first in the Haunting anthology.
Yeah.
And I
The
was
haunting.
wrong. According to Wikipedia, the only two installments of the Haunting anthology are Hill House and Bly Manor. However,
Blimey.
I would consider Fall of the House of Usher a part of it.
Yeah, it's still a house,
It's still a
like a
house,
haunted house.
and they're
Yeah.
being haunted.
The word house is in it.
And if he doesn't want it to be considered part of the anthology, maybe he should use more than the same 10 actors.
Truth. Yes.
Uh,
It's like American Horror Story.
exactly. Only,
only
better.
better. Yeah.
That was something I was thinking about
Mhm.
watching this, and just,
We should.
when I delve into Mike Flanagan anything, I think about the whole
Yeah.
elevated horror concept, and I don't think Mike Flanagan has ever said his work is elevated horror.
Yeah.
And I don't think the director of the work should be the one deciding if it's elevated. I think that should
Right.
be up to the audience.
Audience. Yeah, absolutely.
But I would consider like the first 3 seasons of American Horror Story to be elevated horror, and then it just kept
Yeah.
going and it kept going, and
Still going now.
it's still
With
going, and
still going.
I keep having like these little fucking brain aneurysms of maybe the reason I don't feel like an adult woman in her 30s is because the shit that I was watching in high school is
Yeah.
still actively going. Like we're getting,
Right.
like, in the world of animated movies, we're getting Despicable Me 4.
Yep.
And I was like, well, when did the
Wow.
first Despicable Me come out?
Yeah.
2010. I was
Oh
a
my God.
sophomore in high school. Why are we
Dude.
still?
Yeah, why are we still beating that horse? Jesus.
Yeah, and
Make
it's
something
just,
else.
it's so weird to think that American Horror Story has been going on since I was
It's
in high school. And
yeah, it's still going.
I know like nine season shows have been a thing forever, but it feels especially weird because they're so niche,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
things that feel like they should have ended a long time ago, because I'm always shocked when I hear there's a new season of American Horror Story coming out.
Oh, yeah. And also they're doing the thing now to try to like change it up where they're doing like the mid-season finale thing. So they're like cutting it
Mm-hmm.
up in half.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, okay.
Yeah. But I would
Yeah.
consider like the early American Horror Stories where it's a nice slow
Ooh,
burn
yeah. Yeah.
to be elevated horror, because you get that slow burn, you get that good character development, you get
Yeah.
gradual scares, and it slowly intensifies and builds on itself. And I feel like
Yeah, you
Mike
should
Flanagan
watch
has
it.
nailed that with his Haunting anthology plus House of Usher.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and probably Midnight Mass, I guess. That also will be featured in our Flanagan
Yeah,
rewind.
it'll have yeah, Fighting Arena, it'll have to be Midnight Mass and
And maybe
uh
his slow burn is a bit too slow sometimes, as we saw with the first episode of House of Usher.
yes.
But
That's kind of how Midnight Mass is like the whole time.
mhm,
But like we still should watch it and talk about it for sure.
yeah.
But
And
this one is my favorite, Hill House. So good.
before I talk out of my ass, he did a Doctor
Yeah.
Sleep, right? He did the film adaptation of
He
Doctor
did,
Sleep.
didn't he? Yeah, I think he did.
Um, one thing I really have to applaud Flanagan for is
Mhm.
what he did with Doctor Sleep, which
Yeah.
was get Stephen King to like Stanley Kubrick's Shining adaptation.
Yeah.
That was something. So I saw The Shining when it was re-released in 4K in theaters a few years ago, and
Mhm.
that was right before Doctor Sleep came out, and so they had a featurette with Stephen King, and he said Flanagan has made a great adaptation of my novel and a great sequel to Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, and I was like, huh,
Nice.
interesting,
I
because
still haven't seen that.
I enjoyed it. It was pretty good.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
And I am impressed that it is a sequel to Kubrick's The Shining,
Yeah, it is.
especially
Yeah.
with how much Stephen King hated that movie, and the fact that Mike Flanagan created a sequel that made Stephen King appreciate it. I
Yeah.
think that speaks
That's
volumes with
awesome.
just historically how much Stephen King has hated that movie.
It does. I know it does. That's really cool. So I'll definitely have to watch that because I did read the book
Yeah, I
when it
remember you
came out.
not caring too much for the book.
Yeah, I don't think I did. Did I?
Yeah,
Because The
you were
Shining
like,
is just so good. I don't know.
mhm.
I don't know. But yeah, well, Stephen King wrote that. So I was like, but I didn't like I guess I didn't like the book because I remember, yeah, you did know I read it. But I'll have to watch the movie, see
Mhm.
what that's all about.
And I think the big thing that's always been missing from the Kubrick Shining is the
Yeah.
father-son relationship between
Yeah.
Danny Torrance and
Jack Torrance.
Jack Torrance, thank you.
Yeah.
Um, and I think and Flanagan fixed that with Doctor Sleep. His
Oh,
adaptation
okay.
is there's a moment where
Mhm.
like the family bond means
Okay.
something,
Yeah.
to the story that was absent in The Shining.
Yeah. Yeah. Because in The Shining, Jack Torrance just acted like a freaking maniac the whole time and
Yeah.
like couldn't
But
stand
in the
his
book we know
kid.
but in the book we know it's because the ghosts are fucking with Jack and he
Yes.
keeps hearing the voice of his abusive father, and
Hmm.
that causes him to abuse his son, and it's this cycle of abuse,
Right.
and he
Yes. And
breaks the
he's like,
cycle and
yeah.
he breaks the cycle of abuse at the end by sacrificing himself to save his wife and son.
Yes.
um
Exactly.
anyway, as for Hill House,
Heck yeah. Speaking of Flanagan. Hill
speaking of
House.
Flanagan, episode 1 of Hill House.
Heck yeah.
So, Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson is one of the great American horror novels that I have not
Mhm.
read.
It's okay, Sam. Like, actually, you're not like missing much. It's like good to read, but it's like the only thing you missed is that the intro to the episode is like the first
I
paragraph of the, you know what I mean?
I have that note.
Yeah, I'm sure that you could tell. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's definitely.
Um, because yeah, you have to open a Hill House adaptation with the opening paragraph of the
You
novel
sure
because it's
do.
considered one of the greatest openings in literature.
Yeah, I think they close with the end paragraph
Yeah.
too, maybe. I don't know.
No live
Don't quote me.
organism can continue for long to
Yeah.
exist sanely under conditions of absolute reality. Even larks and katydids are supposed by some to dream. Hill House, not sane, stood by itself against the hills, holding darkness within. It had stood so for 80 years and might stand for 80 more. Within, walls continued upright, bricks met neatly, floors were firm, and doors were sensibly shut. Silence lay steadily against the wood and stone of Hill House, and whatever walked there walked alone.
Yep.
Which is a good way to open up a ghost story. And
It is.
I know that this series is a loose adaptation of Hill House. It's not word for word, page for page.
Yeah, it's just like some of the people's names are like the same.
Yeah.
But
Also,
there's no like five siblings in the book.
in my defense for not reading Hill House, I have Hangs a Man sitting on
Oh,
my to be read cart.
oh,
It's been there
cool.
for 3 years now. I'll get to it. It's just Shirley Jackson, if you can't tell from that opening paragraph, is a
So
very complex writer.
yes, it's you have to like be in the right headspace. You
You have
know?
to be in the right headspace. You can't be tired.
Yeah, you can't just read it like for fun, like at the beach. You have to be like, all right, I'm gonna read Hill House to like get it
I'm
done.
gonna read this. I'm gonna annotate it.
Yes, yes.
But also
Um,
Hangs a Man just has interested me
Kingsman.
more.
That's
It's about a
cool.
missing girl inspired by true events that were happening
Oh,
in her
interesting.
town at the time.
Wow, that's always
Um,
very interesting.
I think the movie Shirley, starring Elizabeth Moss, June from Handmaid's
Oh,
Tale, goes into
yeah,
detail about
of
how
course. Of course
that
it's
was written.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. She plays her, doesn't she?
Yeah,
Dang, Lucy Moss is just like in everything.
she is. She really
Shirley.
nailed it with playing June Osborne.
Oh, yeah.
She's just gonna get everything.
I know.
Um,
Yeah, I see that she is being Shirley in this. Okay, that's cool. Did you see Shirley, the movie?
I watched it when it first came out on Hulu, but I
Ooh,
haven't touched it since.
should I watch it?
Yeah, I mean, it inspired me to buy Hangs a Man.
Oh, okay, cool.
So,
Okay, that's good.
um,
Check that out too then.
anyway, I'm gonna read that book. It might
Okay.
help me finish my own novel about a missing girl. Someday I'll
Oh
finish my
yeah,
novel.
that's
One of
right.
these
Yeah.
days.
Oh yeah.
Plays are so much easier to write.
I know.
I'm not,
Yeah,
I'm
dude,
not
I
dis
hear you.
I'm not discrediting my talent. I'm
Yeah,
I'm just
it's
saying
okay.
they're a lot easier to write.
It is easy. Yeah, that's okay.
Just like you're a poet.
Yeah, I'm a poet. Writing poems is easy. Like, I like to write short stories, but that's hard. Writing a
Mm.
novel, that's really fucking hard. Like, geez, I have all these
Do you
ideas.
know how many
The
words you
heck?
need to know to write a novel?
Like a lot. I can't just be like a basic, like a stupid novel with like all the same words over and over. That
Yeah.
drives me crazy. I at the beginning of every sentence, no, I gotta like change it up.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot.
Um, and you know who else struggled writing novels and selling novels? The oldest son in the Craine family.
Yes, that's is his name is Steve.
Stephen had
Stephen King.
whoa.
I know.
Stephen also had trouble writing novels and selling novels because who wants to read historical fiction? No, we all want to read true stories of hauntings. And that he
Yes.
was like, whoa, what if I write about my family's
Haunting.
haunting
Yeah.
and
And so he's
cause them
like,
a lot
yeah.
more strife than they've already gone through?
Yeah, and everyone's like pissed.
Yeah. So that's where
That's funny.
that's what this first episode establishes is
Yeah.
we see a lot of Flanagan works. There are two timelines going on in the series.
Yeah.
We have what is happening in the house during their childhood that causes them to leave the house and
Mhm.
traumatizes them for the rest of their life. And then we have the present timeline where the family is estranged. They talk occasionally,
Mhm.
but they're all kind of just annoyed with
Yeah.
each other and mad at each other,
Yeah, no one's doing
mostly
anything.
because
Yeah.
we know that they had to leave the house in a hurry and abandoned their mother in the house. And I don't think they ever really got answers as to why. And so I
Yeah.
think the series is probably going to explore that.
Oh yeah.
And
It's
we're going to
really,
get
really good.
answers. And
Mhm.
um, I think the focus is going to be on Nell, played by Victoria
Pedretti. Yeah. Pedretti.
Pedretti, who we know as Love in You.
Hey, she's from Pittsburgh. She graduated from CMU. She's Pittsburgh royalty.
Ooh, do you
I
know
didn't
her?
No, I don't know her, but like I know after the fact that like she is from Pittsburgh, grew up here, went to school here, and went to the acting school or the theater school at CMU, which is like the best school in the city.
Ooh,
Um, so I was like, hey, cool. I didn't like know until like
very nice.
maybe like the past year. I was like, oh shit, she's like, because I didn't like, I had no idea. So no, I didn't know her myself. No.
Well, one thing that I love about Victoria is she has one of the best cry faces in the
Oh God,
industry.
I know.
Just
How about that?
gosh, she would be so good as a lonely Victorian child.
Yeah. Also, she's like so beautiful too. So it's
Hmm.
like you have no idea.
And I firmly believe that love is still alive in you, but we'll find out in 10 years when we get the next season.
Dude, yeah, I know she definitely is. I definitely agree. There's no
We
freaking
didn't see a
way.
body. We didn't see a body.
Exactly. We didn't.
We
So,
just we just hear that she had a funeral off screen, but you can just like have a funeral without a body.
yeah, you just
And
like
there was a
do
fire and
it.
they'd be like, "Oh, I guess the body's gone."
Yep. Yep. So, but I don't buy it.
Yeah.
So,
However,
uh-huh.
in Haunting of Hill House, she is dead.
She is dead. That's interesting because we do open with her last hours of life. And
Hmm.
then the first episode is like her being dead. So the rest
Yeah.
of the show is like some flashbacks. So we do get her alive and stuff. And we understand why that happened.
Yeah.
That was cool.
So,
I forgot that.
yep,
Yeah.
she calls her family in distress, and I guess she's done this in the past, and everybody's just
She's
kind of
fucking
like,
busy.
fucking Nell, she's so tragic,
She's so crazy. Get her
she's
out of
so
here.
crazy, she's so sad. We'll deal with it later. She's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
And then the last person she calls is the father, and she says,
Yeah.
"Hey, do you remember the bent neck lady? She's
Yeah.
back." And he's like, "Ah, shit." And he calls
What?
everybody again and says, "Hey, this is actually serious. We need to go to Nell. She says she's at home." So I'm going there, but Nell's not at home. She's at the Hill House.
Yes. She lied.
Yeah, she lied. And we see her dancing alone in the Hill House. And all the siblings wake up at 3:03 a.m., sensing that she is in the Red Room.
Yes.
We don't know what the Red Room is, but it seems serious.
Yes, the red room. Yes, you don't know what it is yet. I do, but I'm not gonna say
Yeah,
anything.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, the family bought this house because I guess they're 1970s house flippers.
Weird. Yeah, they are though. That's literally what it is.
So
Funny.
they moved into this house temporarily to like renovate it and then sell it once it's all beautiful and renovated. But everybody's having their own issues in this house. Little Nell is dreaming of this bent neck lady. Shirley is talking in her sleep again. We don't know what's going on with the boys yet, but we know something's going on with the boys because the youngest has a crippling addiction in his
Yeah. Yeah.
adult years,
Hmm.
and Steve is just an asshole.
Yes, the oldest son, of
Yeah.
course. Do you like
Uh,
the dad because he's the annoying guy from Usher who burnt his her like who like was keeping his wife, you know.
I don't
Uh
have any issues with the dad yet.
isn't he
I was trying
cool?
to figure out where I recognized him.
That's
Um,
him. It's
okay,
different.
that is him.
Yep.
I
Without
mean,
that man
a
ponytail.
stupid little douchey ponytail just changes a person.
It does, and he's actually acting like a nice dude. Well, he's young. It's young Hugh, but I don't know if it's the same actor. I think they make it's the same guy, but they make him look older in the older scenes. I think it's
Mhm.
literally the same dude.
Yeah, no, I think he's been great. I have watched a little bit of episode 2, and I
Oh, you
think,
did?
yeah, and I think they're great parents, which
Ooh,
is something you
they
never
are.
see in horror.
That's because freaking Carla Gugliano or whatever is freaking smoking hot.
I know. Like, I totally
Dang.
get why they have like 10
Five
children.
kids. I know. I'm like, they got five freaking kids, and she's like
As
still
they were being
smoking hot.
introduced, I was like, wait, how many fucking kids are
Dude,
there?
there's five kids. So that's the thing. There's not any kids in the book. I think there's like
Yeah.
one character name is like the same, and like that's it.
Yeah. And one of the children is, of course, Kate Siegel, Mike
Of
Flanagan's
course.
wife.
And she's gay in this show, which is
She's gay,
interesting. She's
but she's
gay.
gorgeous as always.
Super hot.
I've decided Mike Flanagan is definitely a wife guy, but only in like the most positive use of that
Yes.
phrase.
Right.
Um, like you have wife guys who are totally compensating for actually being an asshole behind the scenes. And
Uh-huh.
then you have wife guys like Paul W.S. Anderson, who did the Resident Evil movies, who
Oh.
has to make his wife like the coolest woman in the room at
Oh,
all
that's
times.
awesome. That's so cool. So that's what
I
Flanagan is
disagree.
doing. Oh.
I think it's shitty writing on
Oh.
Paul W.S. Anderson's part.
Okay.
This is not a safe space to like the Resident Evil movies.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So
Because we
keep
like
it
the
to
games
yourself.
better. Yeah, we like the games better.
Um, no, it's just the way Alice is written is so annoying. She never comes up in examples of Mary Sue's, but she
Oh,
absolutely is. But no, I think Mike Flanagan is a wife guy because his wife just plays cool characters, and it
yeah.
doesn't feel like he's writing these characters just to hype up how cool his wife is. She's just
Yeah. Yeah.
the best actor for the role. Like,
Right.
because they're also not always good people, as we saw with Fall of the House of Usher.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Well, her
But
character in this is very different and very cool.
yeah, and I
Um,
know she's also the star of his movie Hush. I don't know if you've seen Hush.
yes, I've seen Hush where
Yeah.
she's like deaf mute or whatever. That movie,
Yeah.
you'll have to watch it to see. It's a little weird because like
No,
there's this.
I've watched Hush.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? That's a cool movie, but like there's this part in it where she like screams silently, and I was like, well, she still has a voice box, so like sounds should come out.
Yeah, I would
It's
say
the only part I thought was a little awkward. Everything else was
yeah,
all right.
it's been a while since I've watched Hush. I think my one complaint about Hush is we as the
Yeah.
audience still hear noise going on in the background, but I
Yeah.
think it would have been a much stronger movie if
If
we
it
didn't
was
have
like no
that.
sound.
Yeah. And that would make her
Ooh.
silent scream make sense because she wouldn't hear
Yeah, and we
her
wouldn't
scream.
hear, but we would assume that like maybe sounds might be coming out. But yeah, oh, I
I
agree
think
with
that
that,
would have
Sam, a
made the
lot.
movie
Yeah,
much scarier is if
that's
we
really
didn't have
smart. Yeah.
if we were actually in her place.
Oh yeah, that's smart.
But
I
no, I
agree
think
completely.
like the difference between Paul Anderson and Mike
Uh-huh.
Flanagan writing these roles for their wives, one, Kate Siegel is not always the main character in Flanagan
No,
productions.
no. She was like the second to die in Usher or whatever. Second,
Yeah.
third.
Whereas with Anderson, Mila Jovovich has to like be the most badass woman in these movies, which are usually video game adaptations, have to be morphed around her existence.
Oh, that's his wife is Mila.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand.
So like
Yeah.
Monster Hunter is now
Mila
a
Hunter.
military woman getting sent back into monster times, and she knows how to use a fucking grenade launcher because she's a badass.
Cool.
It's just it's just very early 2000s a very early 2000s way of writing badass women,
Yeah.
where you're just taking male characteristics, like male action hero characteristics, and putting
Yeah.
a woman in their place.
Yeah. Totally.
Which I'm not a fan of. I like complex characters always. And I
Yeah.
think Flanagan gives that to us with his wife because I think he believes in her acting skills.
Yeah, absolutely. She's great.
Yeah. So Kate Siegel is here, Kara's here, the whole family is here.
Whole family.
The whole family is here. And now that we're watching this and seeing Victoria again, she was missing from House of Usher.
Yeah.
I don't know who she could have played in House of Usher, but
Yeah, I don't know.
because there's no real tragic character. I guess she could have played the wife, the Annabelle Lee. She could have played Annabelle Lee.
Oh, yeah, she could have. But you know what? I get the vibe lately that she might like be expensive.
She is because she blew the fuck up with
You know what
you.
I mean? Yeah. And I think also she's been working on like some other like period piece thing. So I don't know if that
Oh, good. So she
coincided
will
with
be
Usher.
a sad Victorian child soon.
Yeah, dude. But yeah, so how did you like this? You've never seen it before. Did you like episode one?
I like it a lot.
Yeah, good.
I do. I
That's
think
good. All kinds of
it's
stuff
definitely
happening.
faster than what Blind Manor and
Yes.
House of Usher were. But yeah, no, I like it. I don't know why it's taking me this long to watch it and why I watched Blind Manor first.
Yeah, weird.
But I don't
That's
know, it's probably
okay.
one of those things where it was just being so hyped
Yeah. Yeah, that you're like,
that I have to be hipster about it.
dude, no, I that's why I haven't watched like any movie or
I
stuff.
know.
Yeah, dude.
Which
Yeah.
which is great because we can segue into questions from our listeners.
Ooh, yeah. Yes, let's do it.
Both of these are from Chad Ruffner, and I believe he is an authentic listener because these are good questions and feel genuine.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Chad.
So, first question is I was just curious why it is that CGI has all but replaced practical effects in movies. I could see if CGI were so much better than practical effects, but that's not really the case in most instances. And the answer is simply money.
Yeah, I was gonna say money. I mean, it's like
Money.
easier and faster and
Yeah.
whatever, and it takes less time and less people to operate or apply
Yeah.
effects and stuff.
I would, depending on the movie, time is questionable. You know, you
Yeah.
have all these visual effect artists who don't get paid what they're worth and
Yeah.
are just really treated shittily. And you see that with like bad visual effects all the time, they're given these impossible deadlines.
Yes.
But
Yes. You're right.
the studios just screw over visual effect artists. However, it's still, and because they're screwing them over, it's cheaper and more, um, not effective, but just cheaper and easier than
Yeah,
practical
easier.
effects because
It's
practical
faster.
effects, a lot of times, you're either building the set from scratch or you're building these effects from scratch. And a lot of these effects, especially in horror movies, the one that comes to mind would be Freddy's mouth stretching open to eat
Hmm.
Heather Langenkamp's son.
Yeah,
That's a one-time effect. You can only get one shot out of that.
for
And if
sure.
you fuck it up, you're gonna have to rebuild that entire prop. So it's a
Yeah.
time thing, it's a money thing. We do see practical effects coming back in horror more than we're seeing them come back in mainstream
Yeah.
movies. Like Terrifier is all practical.
Yeah.
Um,
There's like another thing regarding like the difference between the two is like whenever you're doing practical effects, you're doing it on set. And whenever
mhm.
you're on set, you have anywhere between 2 weeks to like 4 weeks to do everything. And
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Then you so that means these actors are working 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
And so like you have to squeeze it in. But whenever you're doing CGI, it's all in post. And post is like
Mhm.
you have all the time you need, you know what
Yeah.
I mean, to like
Yeah.
insert all of that in post production.
Yep.
So that's my understanding of that difference
And I
too.
think you have to also especially train people in some of these practical effect
Yeah.
um
Yeah, you do.
instances like Chucky, with the exception of the remake of Chucky or remake of Child's Play, has always been a practical effect. He's a robotic puppet, and they have a rig that someone has to operate off
Yeah.
camera. I
Yeah.
don't know if you've ever seen the rig. in like
No.
behind the scenes features, but it's just like this big, so many wires and there's so many buttons, and the person basically has to hug the thing the entire time. And there are motions, or Chucky's arm motions, and there are buttons to control the fingers. So Chucky has always been
Wow.
practical effects, as long as you're looking at the actual canon of Chucky, not the remake, but the series
Mhm.
and the original series.
Yeah.
He's always been a robotic puppet that's controlled off screen.
Yeah.
Um, so it comes down to money and time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even like if you're not doing puppets and like machines and building stuff, if you're applying practical effects in the case of like special effects makeup and stuff and like latex and things, like
Hmm.
doing something to then applying something to someone's body, that's like 8 hours. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like makeup, 8 hours. So you're sitting in the chair, you got one take until the thing is ruined, and then you have to apply it again. So
Hmm.
that's another thing. It's like, oh, do we want to try to do this with a chance of us having to do a reshoot, retake, or should we just like fucking CGI that shit? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it really,
No.
it's depending on that too. Yeah.
And that's a reminder of something I remember from the Freddy versus Jason director's commentary with
Yeah.
Ken and Robert.
Uh-huh.
Ken replacing Kane Hodder
Ken,
for
Kane.
Freddy versus Jason is
That's my shit.
Ken broke a tooth during one of the
Oh.
scenes, and
Uh-huh.
they didn't have time for him to get out of costume and makeup
Oh.
before taking him to the dentist.
Oh my God.
So
It's the dead day.
he had to go to the dentist in full Jason
Oh my God.
prosthetics. Um,
Oh.
and he
Yeah.
said that there was a woman in the waiting room, and he had to assure her, "I'm in a movie. I promise I'm normal."
We're filming. Yeah. It's like I just couldn't get out of all this. It takes 10 hours to get out of all
Yeah.
this.
And I know that's one thing that has always been hard on Robert Englund too, is how long the Freddy makeup
Dude, that's
takes.
his whole fucking body. You know what I mean? That's his whole
Hmm.
head.
Yeah, that's like a 10-hour process. So,
Yeah.
anyway, next question from
Yeah.
Chad.
Cool, Chad. Thanks,
Um,
Chad.
and this one is good. I was
Okay.
curious as to what horror movie disappointed you the most after you were looking forward to seeing it. His is Scream 3, which
Oh,
I think
Scream
is very
3.
fair. Scream
Thanks.
3 is
The bad
often one of the
Scream.
lower rankings.
The stupid Scream. Who's even it? What is Scream
Scream 3
3?
is the one where they're making like Stab 3. And
Oh.
so they're in Hollywood, and it's the only one with a single killer.
Oh, I will have to like watch this again.
Scream 3 was so bad that Stormy doesn't even remember Scream
Stormy
3.
doesn't even remember Scream 3. I just remember 1 and 2 because 2 is a little silly, but still fun and funny. And that's when Randy dies, which is sad.
Hmm.
Okay, well, yeah, I understand why
Um,
3 would be
yeah.
disappointing as
I think
shit.
my most disappointing horror movie in recent memory is the remake of Pet Sematary, because
Yeah.
that was hyped up so much, and then I saw it and I was like, "Oh, you guys are just full of shit." Like, it
Right.
was it it's one of those rare instances where a horror movie needs like an extra 30 minutes, because I swear to God, it was all build up, and then we got maybe 15 minutes with the zombie girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was underwhelming, and I thought the twist of killing the little girl instead of the little boy was good, but it wasn't utilized very well when you have like an intelligent zombie.
Yeah.
We should have had more time with her being creepy and doing bad things.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I still haven't seen that, Sam, but it's probably because you said it sucks. I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
don't need to see
Yeah,
it.
it was disappointing.
So
It
I'll
was
see
disappointing.
OG.
What was your most recent horror movie disappointment?
So this might be like an unpopular opinion, and I know that like Sam will disagree, but Halloween Ends,
That's fair.
huge fucking hype. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
care for the first two, and I was like, all right, this is gonna be like the best one, and then get in
Mm-hmm.
there, and Michael Myers lives in a fucking cave, and the dude's like a weird like school shooter. I don't know. It was like kind of not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
And Jamie didn't die, so like I don't know. I mean, Lori survived, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it was just disappointing on but I was like, it was just because the hype was so big, and I'm like, oh damn. I gotta see it in theater. So this is, but I'm keeping it strictly to a movie that I've seen in theaters that I've gone to
Mhm.
see expecting to be like super excited, but it didn't like
Yeah.
it wasn't like what I thought.
Yeah, and
Oh,
I don't
so
think you're
sad.
alone in being disappointed with Halloween
Yeah.
Ends.
Yeah.
I mean, after all, like David Gordon Green was also handed over the reboot of The Exorcist, and
Mm-hmm.
that flopped so hard that now Mike
Dude.
Flanagan's doing it.
You know what's so funny, Sam? And I'm so glad you're telling me that it flopped because like some people, I don't know if I've heard this on like a podcast or like on like Reddit or something, but people are like, oh yeah, the new Exorcist is so good. And I'm just like, it isn't that the one that Sam said is not good? And I was like,
It's good in the sense that I
dude,
saw all the potential, but it's bad in the
but
sense that
it's
it did not do anything with that potential.
right. Well, I trust you completely. So like I'm not gonna watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm just like shit, because the OG is just so fucking
Yeah.
crazy.
All I'm saying is if you're going to
Yeah.
have a dual
Yeah.
demon possession, then
Uh-huh.
I need to care about both of the girls being possessed equally, and
Yes.
that's where it failed.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah, very good point.
Yeah.
All
But
right.
yeah, I guess those are two very
Good
valid, yeah,
questions.
great questions. And if any other
Wow.
listeners have questions,
Oh my
please email them to us
gosh.
and we'll get to them in a
That
month.
was,
Or
yeah, in a month.
I'll now that we have people emailing us real things,
We'll
I will
check
do
more.
better. I'll
Yeah,
check my
we'll check
email more.
more. We'll check more. But no, that was really cool. Thank you for those questions. Those are great questions.
Yeah.
Awesome. Uh,
But I
and
think,
yeah, what do you think we should talk about next with
oh
our
yeah,
couple minutes? Yeah.
our next movie, you want to do X because it's on Netflix right now?
It's on Netflix and it looks like it's leaving Netflix in like a week. So I was like,
Okay.
hey, let's sneak that in there
No,
because I haven't
we
seen
can sneak
X.
oh, you
You
haven't.
haven't? I haven't
Okay,
seen
yeah,
it, girl.
we'll do
Yeah,
X, which works out
X.
because Maxine is coming out in 2 weeks, which is the
Yeah.
third in the
And
trilogy.
Pearl is already like out there probably,
Pearl
right?
is
That's
somewhere. I don't know where Pearl is
somewhere.
streaming,
Okay.
but no, X is I think X is fantastic. And then you have
Yeah.
Pearl, which I think actually overshadows X
Oh wow.
in
Okay.
some
And
ways. Like in
then
popularity,
Maxine.
it overshadows it.
Yeah. And then Maxine is coming out soon. Yeah.
It comes
You know
out
who's gonna
4th of
be in
July weekend.
Maxine? Oh, really? Oh, okay. That's cool. That's like pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know who's gonna be in Maxine is freaking Kevin Bacon, Mr.
Ooh,
Horror Movie. Freaking love Kevin Bacon.
I love Kevin Bacon. I didn't
I
know he was in
know.
it. Maybe I
Dude,
did.
yeah, he's like, I because I follow him on Instagram, so I saw him post a promo, like a character promo of himself as like a character for Maxine. I was like, hey.
Excellent.
So he's like a guy in it. So that's cool. All right, well, excellent. So we're gonna watch X. It's on Netflix until like whenever, next end of the month, I think. And then
Yes.
we'll talk about it and then we'll keep chugging through Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a good show. I love this fucking
All
show.
right. I
All
think
right.
that's all I have this week.
Cool. Same here, guys. So we'll talk to you next week. Watch X and then we'll talk all about it
Yeah.
in. Wait, let me make damn sure that I'm available next week though, because my schedule's all wild and crazy right now. Yes, Sam. I will talk to you next Friday, girl.
Sounds good.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.